here's the brutal truth they froze. Stone rooms with 10-foot walls kept heat like a tomb, so you layered linen 2 wool blankets, and a fur hid in a 4-post bed with curtains, and slept with a brazier. You could feel on your toes. And if you slipped once you didn't wake up, you picture a roaring hearth. You're wrong. Walk into a keep at dusk and feel the betrayal. 10-foot stone walls drink heat and bleed cold back. Inventories show beds smothered in linen, wool, and fur. People crawled into them like sailors into lifeboats. They were textile fortresses, curtains testers, blankets, feather beds. Under those layers, you could trap human heat for hours. But there was risk in every warm fix. Braziers warmed the feet fast and quietly. Charcoal fumes crept curtains, caught embers leapt. One overheated pan, a thin blanket, and open shutter. People didn't wake up. Frost rimmed the tiny panes. Tapestries hung like frozen curtains. You could see your breath on velvet in the morning. Pillows propped people upright, sleeping flat, invited the devil literally. Families tucked herbs into mattresses against bugs and bad air. The smell was wool smoke and lavender, faint and comforting. Entire households shared beds to survive winter nights. Children, servants, and dogs huddled for warmth and comfort. Privacy traded for survival. Fleas and smoke came with it. You slept in layers and rituals, nightcap, prayer, shutters closed. No central heating. It was like camping in your own castle. Guards and servants huddled in kitchens, trading sleep for watchfulness. Fire kills. Yet one spark could turn that comfort into a funeral shroud. The bed was a lifeboat in a stone ocean. Stick with me. We'll rebuild that night layer by dangerous layer. Next, we shrink your climate, making a tent inside a room. And imagine stepping into a castle at dusk and the air slaps your cheeks. Stone drinks the sun all day. At night it bleeds that heat away into slow creeping chill. Thick walls don't make warmth. They only slow how fast temperatures change. Breath fogs on tapestries and ice rims, the small window panes. Yet wind knives through arrow slits and keyholes, finding your face. So what do? You shrink your climate, make a tent inside the room. Beds became tiny houses, heavy curtains, testers, valances, and fur linings. Servants hung arras and shut stout shutters until the chamber felt smaller, closer, human. Straw rushes, wooden panels, and dragged rugs cut drafts underfoot. People crawled into layered nests of linen, wool, and fur. They wriggled together and let bodies do the heating. Dogs slept at the foot, children huddled under the covers. Nobles wrapped themselves in layered velvet and ostentatious furs. Servants kept vigil, eyes stinging from smoke and candle wax. Priests blessed beds and lit votive candles against cold's threat. You laugh now with central heating and thermostats on demand. A smell of tallow and wet wool filled the air. But all that smoke meant smothering coughing and slow death. Heat kills. Guards shivered on duty, armor, clanking, eyes hollow. You give up privacy for warmth and closeness. It was survival ritual and choreography. Synchronized motions to outwit stone. You closed the door, breathed softly, and pretended the castle wasn't a glacier. It worked, mostly. Next, flames, until they killed you. And you picture a roaring hearth in every chamber. You are wrong. Most rooms had no fireplace, and stone wicked heat away. Fuel was expensive. Householders banked the embers at curfew. Communal halls kept the big fire. Private chambers were miserly. The nightly couvre, few meant no open blaze past the bell. So people used portable braziers and pans filled with charcoal. A brazier felt magical, portable warmth in a metal bowl. They warmed feet fast and then moved the heat into bed. Nobles shivered. Despite wealth, peasants huddled up tighter. To medieval eyes, the trick felt clever and practical. But fires made smoke that stung and soot that blackened faces. Sparks leapt to curtains and tapestries like tiny traitors. Charcoal also produced silent, invisible fumes that could suffocate sleepers. It could kill you. You coughed, and your eyes watered in the bed. So beds became portable microclimates, not mere furniture. You carried heated bricks and braziers. Near then snuggled under curtains. Bed warmers were brass pans of coals slid beneath covers. Later, servants replaced them with hot bricks, wrapped in cloth. Servants aired the sheets, placed hot pans in the foot compartment. You had a ritual: air sheets, snuff candles, tucked children in. People shared warmth. Children, spouses, dogs, because bodies mattered more than privacy. But every extra fur or curtain increased the tinder load enormously. One kicked brazier, and the whole night changed to alarm. The smell of burnt wool or singed hair alarmed everyone, so you brought heat to the bed, carefully. Next, build the bed, fort. You crawl into a wooden frame and pull thick curtains around you, and suddenly the whole world is smaller and warmer. Inventories from medieval houses list entire bed, sets valances testers, linings and counterpanes, not just for show but to trap the heat your body produces. The tester overhead is a roof. The curtains are walls. Inside it smells of wool lanolin and old smoke. It is private, intimate, and engineered for survival. People huddled there together, spouses, children, servants, because one shared bed was a shared furnace. But fabric that holds heat also loves fire. Imagine your cold breath fogging the air as candlelight trembles. Servants listened outside, ready to smother sparks or wake you. Peasants used rough cloth and rushes, lords layered silks. Richness bought warmth and also fed the flames. Sometimes a shout was the only alarm, nothing else. Flames licked velvet and fur in seconds. Smoke filled the chamber, and sometimes people never woke. Still, lords ordered more textiles, richer embroideries, thicker linings. Comfort and danger braided together. The bed was a status sign and a life-saving device. You drew the curtains against the 10-foot stone walls, felt the chill stop at the fabric line, and listened to the castle decay into muffled night. The bed strongroom trick worked often enough to keep children alive. It failed spectacularly when it didn't. Next under you, ropes, straw, feathers. And imagine lying on a woven lattice of ropes and straw tonight. You're not on springs or coils, you lie across hand. Twisted ropes. A straw palace sits on top, prickly and smelling of hay. If you're rich, someone added a feather bed above that, soft and expensive. Ropes sag after months of bodies and sleep. Servants climbed in ladders at dawn to tighten those ropes. Sleep tight might come from that job, scholars argue, but the work was real. The straw underneath seemed practical at first. It insulated a little and was cheap and available. It also harbored lice, damp, and the slow sour mold of wet winters. It rustled in the dark and left crumbs in your hair. It crawled. Gross. You breathed cold smoke, clinging air, thinking wealth meant heat and safety. Ironically, comfort could suffocate. Tapestries smoldered, servants kept alarms at windows, doors too, so people layered up. Mats, bits of torn cloth, herbs tucked between layers, even fresh rushes for special nights. Feathers helped trap heat, but required monthly airing and constant care. The servants beat bedding in courtyards, aired it on sunny roofs, and stuffed herbs like lavender between folds. Still, sharing a bed with children, dogs, or a traveling friend spread fleas and sweat. Nights smelled of straw, tallow, and old wool. You could hear the ropes creak and the curtain breathe. Your comfort was engineered from items and labor, not warmth itself. Next, what you pulled over your body to survive that cold, verminous night. You crawl into bed in a linen shift and nightcap. Maybe wool hose tugged up against your calves, and you feel suddenly safer. Your bed is stacked, 2 wool blankets, perhaps a fur thrown over the top, pillows propping you upright. Bodies press in beside you. Spouse, children, sometimes a servant or a weary guest, and a dog curls at your feet, warm and breathing. It's efficient. It conserves precious heat. It also shoves fleas, lice, and damp breath into the same small space. Crowding spreads sickness like a slow fire through a family. Sparks, meanwhile, are another danger. Furs shed little embers when a brazier spits, curtains and pelts catch quickly. Flames licked through bedding in an instant, and you wake choking on hot smoke. Flames spread faster than you can wake. Deadly. You sleep layered for comfort and for survival. But every layer brings a trade-off. Linen next to skin wicks. Sweat, wool traps body heat, and fur provides that final luxurious barrier against midnight cold. People washed linen when they could. Wool was brushed out and furs seldom cleaned. That meant smell, sweat, and vermin lived with you under the covers. Still, the ritual mattered, tucking children, close, checking the embers, adjusting the blankets. Small acts that felt like prayer. Eventually, people learned that the better fix was not adding more bodies or furs. Insulate the room itself. So next, you'll see not more blankets, but heavy cloth on the walls and shutters, over windows. And you press your palm to the cold wall and watch breath fog. Heavy arras hang like rainbows of wool against 10-foot stone. You shut stout shutters over horn parchment or rare glass. Wood paneling creates a warm pocket you can crawl into. These tricks cut radiant chill and stop most drafts. But warmth breeds surprises behind the fabric. cold pools form where air stagnates and damp settles. Mildew smells sour and sharp in the sleeping dark. Straw and linen invite mice, lice, and mold to flourish. Tapestries conceal secrets as easily as warmth. Servants and spies tuck themselves behind hangings to overhear. They listen to lovers' whispers, treaty bargains, or the Lord's curse. Mice eavesdrop. For families, tapestries were both hearth and hazard. You button the bed curtains, pack furs close, and pray. Servants tightened ropes, aired straw, and chased vermin. On winter mornings, people peeled back wet hangings like curtains. Hands came away gray with dust and blackened mold. Babies coughed in damp pockets behind embroidered scenes. A mouse or two gnawed at leather shoes through the night. Privacy had a price: warmth for vulnerability. Imagine candlelight smeared with soot, making faces like carved masks. Guards froze below while nobles wrapped air in tapestries above. Comfort buys sleep, and sleep invites slow ruin. Surprise. Occasionally, a watcher was found wedged behind wools and sayings. Stories survive of lovers betrayed by a stitch in the border. Rich households eventually moved upstairs to solars for better air. Next, stop the Lord's private solar. And imagine you climb a narrow stair and step into the solar, the Lord's private room. And it feels like another world. The windows are smaller, sometimes glazed, sitting high to stop drafts, and the walls wear textiles that hush the room in the cold. A small fireplace licks at the air, the tapestries rustle. You're supposed to be safe here. Instead, you are enclosed in a fragile homemade climate. Servants spend an evening ritual around your bed. They air the linens to shake out damp and lice. They beat mattress ticks, and they warm the sheets with brass pans full of coals or bricks, heated red in the hearth. They tuck furs and wool counterpanes around the tester and pull curtains tight, turning a bed into a hot, sleepy tent. Luxury works. Warmth arrives fast. People slept wrapped in linen wool in each other, dogs underfoot, servants on a pallet nearby. Heat could kill. You wake coughing, breath fogs, candlelight trembles around you. People suffocated. A brazier left too close, blackened curtains. Chimney sparks leapt into fraying wool, and charcoal fumes crept under the curtains in the night. Later on the continent, German houses switched to tile stoves that radiated gentler heat, but even stoves crack and smolder. Meanwhile, downstairs the household scrambles. More fuel, rewarmed bricks, questions about who sleeps where. You think the Lord's privacy ends cold. It doesn't. It ends dangerous. Next, you'll see where the rest of the castle slept and why their solutions were often worse. You curl up on a pallet beside the kitchen hearth and pretend the stone can't bite. You're a cook or groom, not some pampered lord. Kitchens and brew houses throw off heat when the hall goes cold. The warmth is plain boiling kettles, hot stones fermenting wort. So bodies cluster on rush-strewn pallets like a living quilt. Dogs push between knees, stable lads sleep by the mare for a share of her heat. This arrangement works most nights, until smoke and vermin make it unbearable. Smoke carves your eyes and stitches black into your hair. Straw bites with lice, mice gnaw pockets and dreams. Fall asleep on watch, and the steward wakes you with a rod. Timing mattered. Naps were scheduled, not improvised. There's a nightly drill bank. The hall fire set low braziers near the backs of chairs, rotate the watching pair, and send someone to warm the Lord's bed with a brazier pan. The brew house is a sanctuary after midnight. Its simmering kettles hold a soft, forgiving warmth. But years of that air scar. Your lungs and a kicked pan will burn a tester to cinders. You trade privacy for warmth, quiet, for the clatter of animals, safety for a place beside the heat. It keeps you alive. Your breath fogs in the halls, chill candlelight trembles on kettles. Peasants trade privacy for warmth, lords sleep colder in feather beds. That irony tastes like soot and sour ale. Sometimes you pray for morning, sometimes for one more hour. Stay warm. Enter the nightly drill, and you hear the curfew bell, and the castle exhales. You bank the fire, shove ashes into the brazier's belly, shut shutters against the night wind, and draw heavy curtains around your bed like a small castle within a castle. You slip between wool and fur, and suddenly you are in a warmer world, a little human microclimate, breathing under tapestries. People didn't sleep once. They took a first deep sleep until midnight, woke for an hour or two for prayers, chatting, or a private smoke of thinking, then returned for a second sleep. You whisper your prayers, check the child curled at your feet, tiptoe to the garderobe, or lift a chamber pot. All normal things that can ruin your night. One trip outside kills the work of hours. Step into the cold and your bed's trapped heat thins your skin, shocks your breath, fogs, and you invite a cough that won't leave. You feel the risk in your bones. You smell damp wool candle, smoke, and the sweet sour lavender of rushes. Guards freeze. On watch servants, fairy blankets, and braziers. Smothering. So medieval people hacked survival. Heated bricks, wrapped in cloth pans, warmed beneath the blankets. Dogs tucked at the foot servants, airing feather beds and piles of fur like armor. Candles gutter stone walls, drink warmth, and the night smells of smoke and lavender, strewn rushes. It's cozy and it's perilous at once. Up next, the clever tricks they used to keep heat, and the disasters those tricks sometimes caused. And imagine sliding your numb feet into a steaming cloth-wrapped brick. A servant heated river-smooth stones in the hall fire all evening. You tuck them at your toes beneath furs and blankets. Foot warmers, brass pans, clay bricks, portable braziers were nightly appliances. Rushes smelled of mint and lavender swept across the floor. Ale or spiced wine warmed the throat and the spirits. It felt like heat, but every hack carried a hazard. Hot stones scorched tickings and singed expensive pelts. Braziers blurred night air with choking charcoal smoke. A cracked tile stove threw sparks into the curtains. You could die. You cough in candlelight. Cold breath fogs your fur. Simple, nobles slept safer. Peasants huddled nearer smoldering coals. Herbs smelled lovely but did nothing for lice or damp. And that warming drink. It tricked your blood and senses. Masonry stoves in Central Europe solved some problems. Iberia preferred transportable braziers and open hearths. Both traditions baked in new risks and maintenance demands. Tiles cracked, chimneys smoked, and textiles remained flammable. A lady might instruct her maid to heat 3 bricks. The servant padded across slate carrying coals in a brazier. They wrapped the bricks in wool linen, sometimes a pelt. If you slept too close, your skin blistered quietly. Smoke also hid death in its hush. Servants learned to listen for the faint cough of carbon. Night after night, families balanced heat and hazard with ritual. So why did this textile fortress fade? Next, we'll trace the slow upgrades that finally made bed, curtains, less necessary. And imagine crawling into a bed, tent that doubles as a furnace. Curtains were thick furs piled like armor against stone chill. Air smelled of smoke, oil, and stale wool. Then the world of heat moved out of the tent. First came better chimneys that pushed smoke skyward. Glass and glazing kept drafts at bay and light in. Coal and tile stoves concentrated warmth in the room. Flues threaded heat through walls. Radiators followed centuries later. Bed curtains shrank away like armor discarded at dawn. Privacy moved from fluttering fabric to solid stone and plaster. You went from building miniature climates around your body to warming entire rooms. People still layered sealed cracks and invented microclimates. Sleeping bags, duvets, tents. These are echoes of medieval tactics. Comfort costs. Centuries of chimneys, glass, coal, and engineering prove it. We swapped curtains for walls and microclimates for thermostats. But the human ritual stayed the same: layer, seal, hoard heat. Imagine the cold, making your breath white in the tent. Nobles sipped wine by one brazier, peasants huddled by embers. Servants risked smoke, blindness, and soot to keep fires fed. Churches blessed hearth, superstition made flames vaguely holy. Comfort bought smoke in your lungs and sleepless nights. Heat demanded wood-coin labor, a tax without mercy. Today, thermostats hide that cost behind silent dials. But humans still invent naps, hot water bottles, ritual layering. Heat demands payment. So when you zip a sleeping bag or tuck a duvet close, remember this comfort is engineered, never free. Next, follow the smoke up the chimney.